Welcome to Purposeful Empathy, a show dedicated to conversations with people who want to grow and spread empathy throughout the world. Today I'm joined by Dr. Parag Mankeekar to discuss RealLives, an online life simulator with over 1 million users which aims to promote global empathy. Parag is a social entrepreneur who started his journey as a medical and public health professional and is also a trained anthropologist. Through his work, he's tackled disaster management and terrorism. As an Ashoka Fellow and Salzburg Seminar Fellow, it's clear he's made a commitment to positive social change. Today, he's the Executive Director of RealLives with a mandate to scale the simulator around the world. It is such a pleasure to have you here, Parag. Thank you for joining.
Me too, Anita. Thanks. And it's a privilege to talk to you.
Oh, sweet, sweet. Now tell us what RealLives is about. I'd love to hear you tell our audience.
The quest was how we can bring gamification to young people and how we can nurture their values of life, values of humanity, and the values of how they live in this world was the big question. So RealLives essentially is a simulator where we have collected statistical data from 193 countries of the world who have signed the United Nations mandate. Now, this data is from birth to death, and it's a huge data collected by more than 150 organizations of this world, starting from United Nations to World Bank to Oxfam and whatnot, And one of the biggest thing we realized is that although the data is captured by all these big organizations over the last 70, 80, 90 years, if you ask any young people, what is the infant mortality, what is the maternal mortality, how many people get jobs, how many people are unemployed, you will surprise that nobody knows this data. So there is a big disconnect between what happens in this world, in the real world, and what we are actually teaching the kids in the school. And this is where actually one of the gaps, which is really a very dangerous gap I see as a producer of this game.
Yeah, I teach social entrepreneurship and leadership at McGill, and I completely relate. Very well-educated young people who do not understand the magnitude of some of these problems. I can certainly understand.
The another thing is, if you don't see the problem, if you don't see the data or the statistical data of a country like, say, Rwanda or Kenya or maybe North Korea or even US or even in India, Germany, whatever it is, if people don't see this data, how they are going to identify the challenges they are going to resolve. And this is where the gaps are. And this is the role of RealLives. When you are born in a country, so when you click the button, I want to live somewhere, you are born randomly in a country, and then you live a life from birth to death. And as no one of us know actually when we are going to die, the algorithm of RealLives actually makes you die in the game as a character. And then you live that life from birth to death. Sometimes you might die at the age of 1, or sometimes you live up to 100.
So technically, if anybody's interested and curious, you log on, you pay a small fee to be a gamer on RealLives. And then how many lives can you actually live virtually by playing the game?
Billions and trillions of lives, because the algorithm are so powerful and they are so randomly generated. Because there are about 400 attributes in the game. And each time you are born, you will never born with the same name in the same country with the same statistical data you are born with. It's all like our 7 billion people where you are a very different person, I am a very different person. Although we have same genome, our expressions, our mentality, our psychology, our disease pattern, everything is different. That's how it happens in real life. So each time you play, you are actually have a possibility to live trillions of lives.
Right, based on the real data of gender disparity, income disparity, access to water. Incredible. So when you're going through the game, what are some of the things that happen just to bring the game to life?
So one is, of course, first 8 years in the game, like in our real lives, we don't do anything. Everything is happening around us. After that, certain decisions starts happening in the life. They may be about your education, they may be about your job, they may be about your relationships, they may be about dropping out from the school, they may be about the disease, they may be about your family income and how you are going to manage it. So it's like a very complex scenario which happens around you. And young people especially are very fascinated to really have this dashboard where a lot of things are happening and they are trying to negotiate with choices and decisions they are going to make in the game. Now, as you realize, the moment you do a decision, for example, I want to drop out from a school, your entire trajectory of that life changes. And then you may not get a blue collar or white collar job, but you might turn into a businessman like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, and who knows. Or sometimes you are brilliantly academically good and suddenly your peers tell you that do you want to have drugs or do you want to smoke or do you want to drink alcohol, and then entire life goes haywire and sometimes you just die on the street. So like nobody knows in the life what is the next day and what is the next year and what is the future of for me. That's where the real life story is.
So it works at two levels. One is the cautionary tale, how decisions can impact your own life through, the lived reality of these avatars, but then also the realities, because I'm assuming that some decisions that they want to make, maybe they'll feel blocked or their opportunities won't be given to them.
Yeah. So that's what I call it feeling of caged or feeling in a cage, because many times we also realize, despite having a big resource country, that sometimes you cannot do certain things despite you want to do them. Now, this is what the feeling young people get, that you are born in Afghanistan as a girl and you may not get to go to the school at the age of 8 or 9 or 10, or you're just thrown out of the school. Now, what next you do in your life? Now, that is where actually the curiosity starts building up. And that's how people start get very, very curious. And that curiousness turns into kind of an empathy that how this girl must be living and what could be the life of this girl. That's where the living of somebody else's life starts.
Yeah. So do you mind sharing how RealLives got started, a little backstory about the founders and what their vision was?
So the founder of RealLives is a teacher from California called Bob Runyan. And Bob actually went to Africa. He was a school teacher, very brilliant in mathematics. He went to Africa and he suddenly realized that African life is never taught in Californian schools. Now, that was a kind of a very kind of epiphanic experience he had. And he came back and he decided to design a game which offers this randomness, which offers students to live somebody else's life across the globe. But this is not a hypothetical game. This has to be a game which is connected to the reality. And that's how actually he decided to use the statistical data. Of course, statistics is not the life. Life is actually beyond statistics and beyond number, what we live and what we end up with our friends and our beauty of life. But most of the life is trapped in the statistics. So that's how he started collecting the data. Somewhere he got stuck and he asked for some help. And we were fortunately on Ashoka Changemaker platform together. This is around 2005 or 2006. And I ended up writing an email to him. I remember at 4 in the afternoon, India time. And I got an email reply back at 6 in the evening. And he said that, Parag, we are open for some partnership and I am really interested in India. Around 2012, Bob and Kathy, his wife, they said, now Parag, you should be leading RealLives and we are offering this game as a gift to you. And that's how this game came completely to my company.
So you're taking the best of the humanities and the best of new technology and big data and combining it for a really exciting user experience. So tell me a little bit about how RealLives is being deployed within schools and sort of within education.
So when we go to the schools are currently using RealLives in many departments. For example, RealLives has data of economics, RealLives has data of geographies, RealLives has data about humanity, RealLives data has diseases. There are more than 200 diseases in the game. Even if you ask any doctor in Canada or India that what diseases people suffer from Africa, no doctor will know what are the common diseases in Africa. So that's what the reality of the world is. So the moment you are born, you encounter all these things. So teacher use this in many ways. And one of the reactions we are getting from the teacher or from the students is that this game makes us think. Now that's a big reaction I keep hearing from Korea, Australia, Singapore. And of course, US is a big market for us, and a lot of schools in US use this game, and of course Canada. So these are the kind of reactions we get. The most important is that because it's a game, we allow teachers to be creative and innovative in the classrooms. For example, I'll give one example from Canada. So there is a baby cry sound when you are born in the game. Now this baby cry was very debatable subject even within my team, that should we really include this sound in the game. So the moment you are born, you hear that baby cry. So we just did that. And then we got an email from a school in Canada, Nova Scotia, I guess. They said that the teacher said the students are fascinated when they hear this sound. The entire classroom, the environment changes. So he started thinking, how he can use this particular potential of human beings. And then they did a workshop on crying with students. And they said actually why people cry. And they found more than 100 reasons why people cry. Some people cry even when they are happy. Some people are extremely sad and they cry. Some people don't even cry actually in their life. So these are the shades of cry. And then they said actually, okay, if this is the category, then how you can help this person in one way or other. Now this never came to me as a game designer or to the box. But this is what happens in the classroom, that because the teachers are extremely capable and they are extremely innovative and creative in the classroom, they are very passionate and they are motivated to do something very different than teaching just a syllabus. So this is how RealLives brings very interesting things into the classroom.
I can tell you're very, very passionate. I understand your theory of change behind RealLives, but what evidence do you have that it's working?
Yeah. So, Anita, we are not a university like you. We are a small group of very passionate people who want to really change education, bring this revolution in the education, that how it can be changed. And how the young people can be really empathetic, they understand life, they understand sustainability, and they become change makers. So towards this journey, actually, building evidence was very difficult. But fortunately, a lot of researchers across the globe started researching RealLives, because there was a big media news in PC Gamer and a lot of other very commercial gaming magazines about this game. And even the media people, journalists, started telling us that one journalist from PC Gamer told us that when he played the game for the first time, he ended up crying, which I could not believe, that somebody is playing a text simulation game. There is no graphics, there is no animation, there is no sound. And just because the brain starts thinking the life of somebody else's, somebody other person in the world, this person started crying. So there is a lot of research which happened. So one very powerful research paper is from Santa Clara University in California by Professor Bakhan. And this is the first evidence where the title of the paper is How RealLives Promotes Global Empathy. And this is a research which she has done in Californian schools. And this is a very powerful research. There are more than 10 research papers on RealLives right now. And there is a PhD on RealLives by a German girl, Annika Struppert. I never met her, I never even saw her. But she has done her PhD, doctoral thesis on RealLives. And this is very interesting, where she has studied schools from Australia, Switzerland, and California. So we got a very cross-cultural, horizontal study where how teachers and students react to RealLives in a different cultural context.
So just you've raised a few issues. I just wonder if you could speak to sort of some of the critiques possibly that RealLives is potentially voyeuristic, a bit of tragedy porn, given the stats are overwhelmingly that people, are struggling, and issues around the big data and privacy. Could you speak to all of that?
The reality of the world is that most of the people are poor. Now, if you are in Canada and I'm in Pune or I'm in Mumbai and Delhi or New York, we don't see this poverty anywhere. We don't see anyone dying with diarrhea. When 16 million kids are dying every year with diarrhea. Being a doctor, I have not seen one child in my life dying with a diarrhea. So that's the reality we are so away from. Now, imagine a school where there is a school building and students come from home and they go to the school and they are trapped in the school for 8 hours or 10 hours and then they just go home or they go to the restaurant for dinner and lunch, whatever. So that's the only life we have. Now, if we really start moving across and we start meeting people and start talking to them on the road and everywhere, I think people are encountering huge challenges in their life. And these challenges we never imagine how they must be tackling with that. So I think the reality of the world is really, really shocking. The data is, of course, real data. So we are not trying to hypothesize something or make something dramatic out of it. It's random. So what happens in the game is actually happening in the real world.
Well, it's been a delight and a privilege to hear all about RealLives, and I wish you nothing but the success that it deserves to scale globally, and I look forward to supporting your work however I can.
Thank you. Thank you, Anita.